The Xbox Series X is finally here, and it's great. Although the design is definitely questionable, but due to this, the outcome, of course, gave us some funny memes. But in today's video, I'm gonna go ahead and share with you my favorite tips and tricks that you must know about your brand new machine. Trust me, you're gonna learn something new after this video. So, besides being able to vape or float a pong ball if you center it properly, if you're coming from a last generation Xbox console, you may have noticed that the menu doesn't look that much different. But believe it or not, Microsoft gave us more customized abilities than ever before. As a fine example, if you bring down this little menu, if you go all the way down to the right side, there's a new customize the guide option. Here you could reorganize what you want to be first. So if you want the guide to be in first, you could do that, leave it by default, or you could make people be the first one and literally swap it like so. And if you bring up the tab, it's right there. You can just go back and see the people tab right there. Another nifty trick to also know about, hit either LT or RT. This will quickly take you from the top to the bottom side instead of having to manually go one by one. Then if you're transferring your games from the older generation console with an external drive and plugging it into the Xbox Series X, unless there's a specific game you want to transfer over, that's perfectly fine. But if you go ahead and also hop onto the older generation console and regular Xbox One, there's a quick and easy option. If you go into your system settings and go into systems and go to backup and transfer using the external drive, you can literally select hard drive transfer and it'll literally transfer your entire gaming library instead of having to manually do one thing at a time. Now, if you're wondering how my wallpaper is dynamically moving like so in the background, this is another new wallpaper that got recently added, part of the new customization features. So on the main menu, if you tap the two square icon right here on your controllers, you have the ability to not only customize the layout a bit more and select the type of games you wanted to show on top, but if you go to theme and motion right here, the system theme, you could allow it to be dark mode, light mode, or schedule. You can customize the schedule with the custom schedule down here, or you can leave it checkmarked to automatically switch between these transitions to sunrise or sunset. And now this is how your menu will look like. So right now, the sun is still up, so we're in light mode, and at night we'll just go back to dark. Then right underneath there, here we have my color and background. Right here, you can select the color of the tiles that you want to select from. So pick any favorite color you want, kind of comment. You could adjust the transparency. If you want the tiles to be super transparent, you can do that. But what I want to cover more is the my background section. Right here, you could have either a solid color, or down below, it could be an achievement art, a custom image that you could drop, click and drag onto your Dropbox, screenshot from previous screenshots you've taken. But the dynamic background is how you get this new, almost like PlayStation vibe, moving background. Of course, you could change the color too by just going back to the My Color tab. Now on your smartphone, I'll highly recommend launching the Xbox Companion app and go ahead and enable Remote Play. When you first enable this, it'll walk you through the setup process automatically, but once you have it all set up, this will let you basically see everything you see on the console, including play games, all off your smartphone or tablet. But in addition to that, on the application, another nifty tool you could do, if we go ahead and disconnect from this real quick, if you ever find yourself on the Microsoft Store or something, you want to quickly search up something, instead of using the controller to enter every keystroke, you could just quickly launch the application like so. Just open up remote, hit the little keyboard icon, and literally you could type in anything right there and then hit return, and it'll be imported on the Xbox like so. Of course, you can also paste like redeem codes and such from here as well. Now back in our settings, system settings, if you go to accounts and in the sign in and security and passkey, if you go in here, you can assign controllers to automatically sign you in to your profile. So as an example, let's go ahead and set up this controller right here, and you can link your controller like so. And now next time when you turn on your Xbox, it will immediately, as long as you're using that controller that you turn on your console with by holding down the Xbox button, it will automatically sign you into your profile. This is extremely helpful and useful, especially when you have a household with multiple different profiles. You could assign certain controllers to be assigned to certain profiles individually. A new feature about the Xbox Series X is that it can now record 4K gameplay footage. As a fine example, if you're playing a game and something interesting happened, you could let the console record the last 30 seconds of the gameplay, but if you like to extend it, this is where you could go and also adjust the resolution. In the settings, just go into the preferences tab, and right here, capture and share, go down, and here is where you can actually select the resolution. Now by default, it's going to be set at 1080p standard res for 1 minute max, but down here is where you can actually select between 4K SDR or HDR for 30 seconds max. And this is where you can do the switch for the higher capture resolution, where you can stream and view that content on your smartphone. Now, new for the Series X controllers is now there actually is a dedicated share button right here in the center, and on the same tab where we adjusted this setting, you can remap it to do other things. As a fine example, I recently swapped mine out to record what recently happened. So you can map it to take a screenshot or begin recording or stop recording. Because now you don't have to do this with the menu and tap either X or Y to screenshot or record. And if you ever find yourself in an Xbox Live party, if you want layout to know who exactly is talking in the party, it's very easy to do so. Simply just start a party and just select configure voice overlay. Here you can select whichever corner you want. So if the minimap is on one corner, just adjust it like so, and you can also adjust the transparency if you want to be super clear or not. Tap done, and now whenever somebody's talking in the party, you know exactly who to tell to mute their mic if they have a fan next to it. Now if you notice that your console home menu has your email displayed right here and you want to take that off, it's really easy to do so. I don't know why this is enabled by default, but if you want to remove this for privacy concerns, it's straightforward. Just simply go into your setting application again, go into the account tab, and here in sign in and security, just go ahead and disable that, and now you're set. Now a nifty little trick or feature that the Xbox has is if you hold down the X button on the controller, not only can you turn off your console, turn off the controller, reset, of course we already know about this, but you can actually magnify if you hit this little button right here and hit yes. You can use the joystick to navigate the menu, so if you're having a hard time reading certain text, this also works in game. This is how you can actually zoom in a little bit and navigate with the joystick, and to reverse, simply just repeat the process. Then of course the button next to that one, if you do the same thing, you can activate narrator as well. It'll read basically any text that you see. Now I know another nifty trick that a lot of people tend to forget is you can actually pin certain games to your home menu. By going into your gaming library and you hit the select button, you can actually go down and select add to home. When it's added to home, you basically can see your game right here each and every time. So this is how you can actually select certain games to show up right here instead of getting bombarded with a bunch of like weird stuff that Microsoft will put here by default. And if you have a larger library of games, you can also just add them to your group, which will be shown right here in pins. Now if you have unlimited internet data, or your internet data is very limited and you may have noticed you're always going over capped to your limit, the auto update feature is an important thing to definitely know about. If you go into your settings one more and then go to system, go down to the updates, here's where you can actually check mark if you want your console to automatically always be updated to the latest firmware automatically, so each and every time when you're getting on the console, you don't have to update anything. You can do the exact same things with your game and applications. Now if you do have a data cap, I recommend turning these off. Maybe leave the console on so it could always update, because normally that's like once every 3 months or so. Rarely does the Xbox get an update, but make sure you are aware about these two settings. And then of course, by having the game and update one enabled, now whenever you launch a game, it's very unlikely you're going to run into an update where you have to wait several minutes or so before you can actually play that game. Now we should be already aware to synchronize your controller, just hit the sync button on both the console and the controller, wait for the light to pair and synchronize, and it's connected. If that doesn't work, you can always just plug it in directly with a cable. It'll automatically pair as soon as you turn on the controller. And then in addition to that, if you have the battery pack from your Xbox One controller, you'll be more than glad to know that it's fully compatible even on the new generation Series X controller. And then other compatible devices is some wireless headphones, like this SteelSeries is also compatible with the Series X, as the pairing process is exactly the same like how it was on the older generation console. And then if you have the media controller from that older generation console, it is reported to be fully compatible even on the Series X. Now this last bit, this mainly focuses on OLED displays or OLED TVs. If you quickly go into your general and go to TV and display options, if you scroll down to the resolution, here's where you could adjust the resolution, the refresh rate, if your TV supports 120 Hz, this is where you could enable this. The TV detail, this will allow you to get an overview of all the things that your TV is compatible with. So basically this television has all the check marks, which is great. But below here, if you're using an OLED TV, I recommend to at least check out the Calibrate TV setup. It's basically will walk you through the entire setup procedure. It's really straightforward. It will also tell you the certain things to adjust in your TV settings. But if you keep hitting next, it'll show you like little images like here. But after this, I highly recommend going down to the Calibrate HDR for gamings. This is the one that you have to manually adjust on the console for the best HDR experience. So just simply go in, tap next, and then using the D-pad, you could adjust the brightness of the image. And then on the right side, they give you two examples on how it should look like. So the check mark is that's basically the look that we're trying to go for. Simply adjust it, hit next, and then there's the check mark again. So make sure this is completely white, there's no checker marks. Hit next, and basically just walk you through everything. And this is how the image calibrated. So the uncalibrated image is right there, everything's exposed, and the calibrated image is right here, and everything looks nice. So highly recommend adjusting this if your TV supports HDR. Now if the television that's connected to your Xbox happens to be an OLED display, I highly recommend adjusting this next setting, because the thing about OLED displays is if you leave your Xbox on without doing anything for several hours, it could burn those pixels and can permanently burn that image on your display. And to prevent this, if you go into your settings and go into preferences and click on idle option, go ahead and enable or adjust the timer to be 2 minutes or 10 minutes. The sooner the better, because this is very unlikely to actually cause harm to your television over time. Now as an added bonus, if we go back, also set a break timer reminder. I have mine set to 2 hours. So this way, if I'm gaming for 2 hours, I'll get a notification, let me know that you've been sitting on your butt for 2 hours. You should probably start moving before you start feeling like a couch potato. But yeah, this last bit's primarily a personal preference. Other than that, that's a quick rundown of all the cool tips and tricks that there is to know about that new Series X console. Confusing name scheme, I swear. Microsoft, thanks. Hey, if you'd like to see more, maybe you're curious what my thoughts are about the Elite 2 controller, you can go ahead and watch this video over there as I go through the differences between the Elite 1 and the Elite 2, if it's even worth upgrading if you already own it, or you're just curious to know what benefits can it really offer. And then that video over there, that's just a video that YouTube is recommending specifically for you. Thanks so much for watching, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.